What's up folks, Max and Velo here, and I want to introduce you to my new series I call Niche Lists. Niche Lists are going to be automotive related lists you never asked for, but I hope you'll enjoy. Essentially what I'm getting at is, I see a whole bunch of average car lists on YouTube, such as top 10 muscle cars, top 10 supercars, etc., and wanted to do something a bit more intricate. Most of these cars will cover a category that is often overlooked and underappreciated, a niche so to speak. In this video, I'll be covering the explosive output of performance vehicles Ford manufactured in the 2010s. I affectionately call this the Ford Renaissance. To understand the Ford Renaissance, we need to look at the economical climate at the time. Without getting into too much detail, poor investments and over-speculation of the housing market caused the economy to plummet in 2008, in an event we know as the Great Recession. Virtually every automaker of the time were hit hard by the economic downturn, but headlines were focused on General Motors and Chrysler, who were forced to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy and were subsequently given bailout loans of $14 billion and $5 billion respectively. Ford was actually going through tough times as well, however they were able to circumvent a bailout by selling off marquees they acquired throughout the years, such as Jaguar and Land Rover. While all this restructuring was going on, GM and Chrysler were anticipating the return of both the Camaro and Challenger. Knowing this, Ford knew it had to update the Mustang for the upcoming pony car war. This was, of course, the Ford Renaissance. So let's start with number 10, the Ford Explorer ST. The Explorer is Ford's most popular SUV to date, with 7.4 million sold since its introduction in 1991, where it replaced the legendary Bronco. For 2019, Ford decided to treat its popular Explorer with the ST treatment, giving it a 400 horsepower EcoBoost twin-turbo V6, putting out around 415 pound-feet of torque, which propelled the car from 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds and a quarter mile of around 14 flat, which isn't no slouch, but it wasn't blistering either. Ford released an ST version of the Edge earlier with some decent performance, such as the 6-second 0 to 60. However, the most impressive SUV Ford has released in the 2010s is undoubtedly the 4th generation Lincoln Navigator. It is honestly the most elegant luxury full-size SUV in the market right now. The platform, especially the black label, has elevated Lincoln, which is important considering that Ford at one point thought of axing Lincoln just like it did with Mercury in 2011. Number 9, the Fiesta ST. The Fiesta ST was Ford's offer to introductory sports compact performance. With 197 horsepower, 200 pound-feet of torque, coming out of its 1.6-liter 4-cylinder turbo, the Fiesta ST will run the quarter mile in around 15 seconds, pitting it against contemporaries such as the Subaru BRZ and Honda Civic Si. Although it was slow, the short wheelbase, stiff suspension, all-around disc brakes, and lightweight around 2,500 pounds allowed it to be popular in road course and autocross. The Fiesta has also caught the attention of many tuners that pump out high numbers from its stock 1.6 turbo, and with only 2,500 pounds curb weight, can be turned into true speed demons. Number 8, the Ford Transit. If there's one thing we can thank Ford executives for trying out, it's taking the best ideas from Europe and shipping them stateside. The Transit is an immensely popular work truck in the UK, with its history spanning 50 years across 4 generations. When the Transit was brought to the US, it sold like crazy and utilized into dozens of utilitarian roles such as mail carriers, cargo vans, ambulances, people transport, and just about anything else. It is by no means a performance vehicle, but still an important contributor to the Ford Renaissance. Number 7, the Mustang Boss 302 and Laguna Seca. The introduction of the 5.0 Coyote is the spark that set off the Ford Renaissance. Ford had redesigned the retro-futuristic 5th generation Mustang in 2010, however retained the aging 4.6-liter, 315 horsepower modular V8. After seeing the newly reintroduced Camaro come with the 426 horsepower LS3 on the SS manual trim, it was apparent that the 4.6-liter could not cut it any longer. The 5.0, although still modular base, was lighter, stronger, and at 412 horsepower with the crank, far more efficient than the outgoing motor. The Boss 302 variant, released in 2012, used lighter valve train components, higher exhaust valve lift, and ported heads, bumping power to 444 horsepower. The car was an evolution of the track-focused Boss 302 Fastback from 1969, which dominated in the SCCA Trans Am Racing Series. An even more exclusive variant of the Boss 302 was released as the Laguna Seca. The Laguna Seca only came in black or silver with red accents. Its features included front Recaro racing seats, rear seat delete and replaced with an X-bar for rigidity, Torsen limited slip differential, and brake cooling hoses. Only a limited run of 750 Laguna Secas were sold. Number 6, the Taurus SHO. The return of the Taurus came to be a bit of a surprise, knowing that the previous generation Taurus was one of the most boring cars ever made. All it did was take up rental car fleet space, and that's about it. That car was an empty shell compared to its predecessor, the Yamaha-engineered first generation SHO, that has amassed an automotive cult following. So in 2010, Ford not only decided to bring back the Taurus, but also revived the SHO trim, the king of the sleepers. The SHO featured a 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 which pumped out 365 horsepower, made it to a 6-speed auto, and an all-wheel drive system. It brought the car to 60 in 5.2 seconds and a quarter mile in the low 13s. Not too shabby considering it doesn't have a lot of exterior differences to tell it apart from the base model, much like an Evo to a Lancer, making it a true sleeper. Number 5, the EcoBoost Mustang. This is a pretty controversial inclusion because when the 4-cylinder EcoBoost trim was announced for the 6th generation S550 platform, it spurred much debate. Many people felt that a 4-cylinder Mustang was sacrilege, and that if you're going to buy a Mustang, it better be a V8. Others stated that the 320 horsepower 4-cylinder Mustang making turbo noises will be the hippest thing ever, and that the car is really just a spiritual successor to the Mustang SVO from the 80s. EcoBoost was capable of 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds, with low 14-second quarter-mile times, and sharp balance handling thanks to an all-around independent suspension and Taurus and LSD. Although the Mustang 5.0 GT and other V8 variants won't be that threatened by the EcoBoost sales, as of 2017, Ford decided to drop the 3.7-liter V6 from lineup, leaving the Coyote and the boosted 4-banger as the only engine options. Number 4, the Focus ST and RS. Here's another example of Ford bringing a successful and brilliant car from Europe to become just as successful in America. The first generation Focus was a world car, and thus the platform was shared across all markets. However, there was a divergence during the second generation between European and North American market focuses. UK and Europe continued selling the good-looking hatchback, with exciting ST and RS trims to boot. North America, however, the second generation American Focus was a boring, forgettable, average car no one got excited about. That all changed in 2012 with the introduction of the third generation Focus, which reunified the market's body styles. For 2013, Americans were treated for the first time with the Ford Focus ST. Sporting a 252 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque 2T EcoBoost, it took the car from 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. With a 6-speed manual, stiff suspension, and electronic differential to mitigate torque steer. It was a front-wheel drive car that fought well at a road course. However, the most extreme form of the Focus came to the US in 2016, the fabled all-wheel drive Ford Focus RS. With the 350 horsepower 2.3-liter EcoBoost and launch control, it will do 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds and a quarter in the low 13s. Exterior goods include a rally-style spoiler, rear diffuser, 18-inch gloss black aluminum wheels, and 4 unique color options with nitrous blue, one of the most mesmerizing OEM colors in my opinion, only available for the RS. Other cool features include Brembos that help with the vehicle's dynamic torque vectoring system, and the aptly named drift mode, which softens rear suspension and splits more power to the rear wheels, allowing the car to perform slides, much unlike an average Focus. Number 3, the SVT Raptor. In 2010, Ford's tuning arm SVT decided to pump some adrenaline into the light-duty F-150, much like they had done with the Lightning in the early 2000s. However, where the Lightning was a street truck, SVT wanted to make this a different project, an off-roading powerhouse, the SVT Raptor. Original powertrain options included the standard 5.4-liter 310 horsepower V8, or the more desirable 411 horsepower 6.2-liter V8 with a 6-speed automatic. Heavily influenced by Baja 1000 trucks, the Raptor was fitted with heavy-duty leaf springs, Fox racing shocks with external reservoirs, and 35-inch BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. With nearly a foot of suspension travel both front and rear, it's no surprise that this piece is capable of performing leaps that will spell the end for most other factory off-roaders. The SVT Raptor was dropped for the 2015 model year, but returned in 2017 with a fresh 450 horsepower 3.5-liter EcoBoost, replacing the V8s. As of today, Raptors have outstandingly held up their values, depreciating very little throughout the past decade. Number 2, the Shelby GT500. Both the S197 II from 2010 to 2014 and the new refresh coming in 2020. What will the Ford Renaissance be without the ultimate trim of the Ford Mustang, the monstrous and legendary Shelby GT500? The 2012 iteration of the GT500, built on the facelifted S197 5th-gen Mustang, is certainly one of the most important cars in Ford's history, as it is the last car Kara Shelby had his input on before his death on May 10, 2012. The standard S197-2 GT500 had a supercharged 5.4-liter modular 4-valve, pumping out 540 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque to the crank, giving it a 0 to 60 acceleration of 4.2 seconds. The block of the new motor was also cast aluminum instead of cast iron like it was in previous GT500, shaving off a good 100 pounds. In 2011, Ford released a variation known as the GT500 Super Snake. This car bumped up power to a staggering 660 horsepower, with the gaping hood scoop to cool things down. In 2013, the Super Snake suspension and aero was tweaked, and as a result, the 2013 Super Snake was heavily advertised as being the first production Mustang capable of reaching 200 miles per hour. After a long hiatus, the GT500 is slated to return in 2020 with a new 5.2-liter supercharged V8 known as the Predator, cranking out about 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque, making it the most powerful Ford from the factory. Number 1. The Ford GT. It takes a special dedicated team to revive classics such as the Ford GT and GT500. But what about evolving and improving those revived models? In 2015, the announcement of the return of the legendary Ford GT sent shockwaves throughout the automotive press. The return of the Ford GT was deliberately aimed at celebrating the 50th anniversary of Ford's win at Le Mans in 1966. People were starstruck at the design of the new machine, and it quickly made it into the top of many people's dream car wish list. The new supercar ditched V8 power in favor for the versatile 3.5-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6, but in this variation, making 640 horsepower to the crank and 550 pound-feet of torque. Unlike the previous car, which only came in manual, the new car only comes available with a 6-speed dual-clutch gate-track semi-automatic. The GT utilizes carbon fiber monocoque construction with carbon fiber body panels, giving it a dry weight of around 3,300 pounds, which Ford claimed will have one of the best power-to-weight ratio of its class. If anything, the speed truly reinforces that claim, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, and a top speed of 217 miles per hour. However, the main statement came from Ford GT's cutting-edge styling, which drew on the GT40's lines and added modern surprises. The new GT sports dihedral butterfly doors, such as the ones you'll find on a McLaren. It also has carbon fiber wheels, which add to the lightweight motive, a retractable spoiler that is activated at higher speeds or when VMAX mode is activated. VMAX is the mode which will stiffen the suspension, hunker down the car to its lowest ride height, and raise that aforementioned spoiler. The wind tunnel engineered flank buttresses, which flank both sides of the car, is its loudest statement, and one of the most beautiful designs of any supercar. The price for one starts around $450,000, with values predicted to appreciate, especially after the release of Ford vs. Ferrari in 2019. As fun as the Ford Renaissance had been, I'm sad to say that it's in decline and probably over. As of 2020, all passenger cars besides the Mustang have been axed in favor of crossovers and SUVs. The Ford GT's production is nearing the end, and the Mustang Mach-E really left people divided over its design. I would like to see what Ford plans are for the future, however I doubt it'll be as exciting as it was in the mid-2010s. Well, that was my first niche list. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Do you have a cool memory with the Ford from this era? Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, share, and I hope to see you in the next video.